What is going on, everybody? BobbyFi flying solo today. Last day for Sheets' vacation, so hopefully we'll be back intact and together soon. Hopefully he had a great vacation down there in Florida. And yeah, we're gonna jump into tonight's slate. Last night was a forgettable one for me. Again, I wish I had practiced a little more what I preached. I did stack the late games and then plan on the McGee thing, but I didn't do it quite enough. And it kind of bothered me because it would have been really easy to turn last night into a really profitable night, and it didn't go that way. Of course, it was going to be hard for me because 30% of my lineups had Joel Embiid in them, and he was scratched, 5-8 minutes after lock, whatever it was. That was frustrating. So you sort of felt like it wasn't going to go anywhere. But on to tonight, it's a small slate with a lot of questions still. I'm just going to really quickly go through each of the teams and my level of interest. Toronto on the back-to-back traveling to Brooklyn feels like a dangerous spot for them, but the point spread and the fact that KD was just downgraded to questionable has me actually thinking this game could stay closer. I think the highest level of interest for me is on FanDuel, certainly Siakam and Boucher, and I think I would go the same on DraftKings, but Gary Trent's price is appealing, Scotty Barnes, Fred VanVleet, all those guys certainly make some sense. The only problem is we have some Phoenix news, and Phoenix is on a back-to-back that we would probably want to know before we commit to anything that has to do with that. On the Brooklyn side, it's going to depend entirely on whether KD plays. If KD plays, I don't feel like I need to necessarily prioritize KD or Harden. I think they're both fine. I don't think if KD does play. And if he doesn't, I think it's going to be impossible not to play James Harden. So that's where I basically stand. And I think the other guys who are going to show up are going to be the Bruce Browns, the Cameron Thomases, the Patty Mills, possibly, even though his price is a little bit up, but it should keep the ownership down. So it really could open up some things. And then you have the whole center situation. We probably should take a look at Claxton here. You could certainly consider pivoting over to Blake with no Aldridge already in there. But I don't know if I would be willing to do that, especially with outside of one game, how little attention he's even gotten. And even that game only played 9 minutes. So I think I would side with Claxton in that situation, but it's going to depend on KD. So we're not going to know about that one. On the Golden State side and the Golden State New York game, I think it's worth it to take look, it's a back-to-back for Golden State. It's a chance some of these guys maybe even rest, including Curry, including Draymond. That obviously opens up a lot of other stuff. As it stands now, I don't have a ton of interest in anyone. I think Jordan Poole would be the most interesting player, but playing Steph Curry in the Garden does have a little bit of an appeal, especially on the night that he's going to break the record for three-pointers, career three-pointers made. The crowd gets up in it. Maybe he takes 23s instead of 15. And if he's going to take 23s, obviously he makes him really interesting. I'm not sure if you'll be able to double pair him with Harden if there's no Durant, but there will be some value. So you'll be able to have some options on FanDuel. It's much easier to do than DraftKings. Obviously, Steph is a better play on DraftKings than he is FanDuel. But as it currently stands, until we know if we don't lose anybody, the most practical interest on DraftKings would be Jordan Poole. And on FanDuel, for me, it's probably Steph, actually, with maybe a little bit of Draymond. Alec Burks is the priority play, probably on the slate. He's probably where you start your cash games on both sides, on the Knicks side. And I think that Quickly or Rose, but I think that you could even get away with playing all three of these guys together. They use Burks sort of at the 3 sometimes. I really like Quickly tonight, and I love Rose all the time in a game that I expect to be competitive, especially going up against other top point guards when he's projected to play around 30 minutes instead of his usual 24-ish range. He's played 36 and 33 in the last 2 games. He put up 37 fantasy points the other night against Milwaukee. I think I would go ranking-wise Burks, Rose, Quickly, factoring in ownership. I do like Quickly a lot as well. Randall's obviously in play, but again, not a desperate priority, but I think he could actually have some success. Not my favorite play, but I think it's fine on the 3-game slate. And then your really long shot play would be Evan Fournier, in my opinion. On the Phoenix side, we're going to need to know about DeAndre Ayton. I'm going to assume at the moment that he's out just because he's been out every time we've had him questionable. If that happens again, JaVale McGee is going to probably smash again. You're going to have another big and Nurkic on the other side. Maybe he won't be as high as he has been, but he's been at 48 and 31 the last 2 games without these guys. And we also, on top of it, they don't have the other big man as well. So I think that you really could see a pretty healthy number of minutes to JaVale McGee if these guys are out, and JaVale McGee would become the priority value play. I think Jay Crowder is also a little too cheap for this matchup. I know he had, he sort of goes up and down these days. He had a rough night last night, but that was really the whole team had a rough night outside of McGee. against the Clippers. He put up 27 or more 3 games in a row before that, including a 35 against Boston. I do think Jay Crowder is interesting. Cameron Payne is going to be interesting to me, whether or not we do hear about anybody else sitting out, just because I think they'll give him more run on the back-to-back to try and ease Chris Paul off a little bit. So those are my sort of initial thoughts on the Phoenix side. Maybe you could include a Shaman if you want to, but I don't think I'm looking to desperately do that right now. Portland, I really like Larry Nance in this matchup. I think that this is a good spot to try and start playing him. They're going to give him more minutes. I believe he got to start the other night. And I think Larry Nance would make a really strong play at 4,300. Definitely one of the priority values for me. You could say Covington at 3,400. Absolutely. We've seen that go horribly wrong, even, which just feels hard to do at 3,400. But we have seen it a number of times this year. But my level of interest is definitely Nance above Covington, and I'm very open to playing Covington also. You could even play them together. I don't mind that if you're going for extra value. Nasir Little is going to be an interesting, larger field play for me. And then you've got the Simons, Lillard, and what's going to happen in that whole situation. I think I'm probably going to steer a little bit clear of that and maybe play a long shot Nurkic in a few lineups. But just to reiterate, there's a bunch of other plays that are obviously viable, but I have Burks, Boucher, Siakam, Quickly, Curry, McGee, Rose, Nance, Harden, assuming Durant's out, and Covington as sort of like my initial core. Now it's going to change a lot. I'll be with you guys at 6:30 Eastern time when we hopefully have some more information. But that's my sort of initial thoughts on the slate. Good luck to everybody. I hope we crush it tonight, and let's see some wins in the chat. Good luck, everybody.